practice one for you that you're going to work through on your own. So the first one, number 10, it says Alex drove 135 miles. So Alex drove, you guys have all of this already, 135 miles in 3 hours, right? So he drove 135 miles in 3 hours at a constant speed. That is super duper important because that is giving you permission to use proportions. If you think about scales, those don't ever change, right? On a map, it's the same scale on the right-hand side as it is on the left-hand side. If you think about ratios, 3 feet in 1 yard, that is the same. It doesn't change. So it's really important to know that it's constant. Also, some of you should be thinking constant, right? Constant reminds us about linear. Just a side note, we will be talking about that, right? So constant, we should think linear automatically. Start thinking linear. Okay, so first we got to figure out how fast is he driving. He drove 135 miles in 3 hours at constant speed. And what we're going to do is we are going to graph it. Okay? We are going to graph this. But the only way that we can graph it is if we got to find out what that constant speed is. So let's do that first, finding out the constant speed. We're going to do that using proportions. So blank over blank equal to blank over blank. And we're going to set up our rows and columns again. So we're going to set up these rows and columns. And we're going to figure out what's going to go in those rows, what's going to go in those columns. So let's think about what's happening here. What's happening? We've got miles and we've got hours. So we've definitely got two sort of units, two different units. So let's go ahead and put units over here on the rows. Let's put miles here. Okay, cool. And we've got hours here. Okay. And then what else is it talking about? So it's talking about kind of it's talking about our scale almost. So each hour, what's happening each hour. So it's kind of like a 1 hour situation. And then it's talking about a 3 hour situation. Okay, so each hour what's happening and what's happening for the 3 hours. So let's look for this 3 hour situation. It says 135 miles, 135 miles, and it says 3 hours. Okay? That's on our left-hand side. On our right-hand side, it says each hour. So how many hours? Well, 1 hour, right? Because we're talking about each hour, every single individual hour. And miles, we don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out how many miles per hour did he go? How fast is he driving? If you didn't know, typically speed is measured in miles per hour, right? So it would be miles per hour. Cool. Okay, so we've got this proportion here. Same method we used to solve the last ones. Not going to show all my steps this time because we have seen it several times. We're going to cross multiply there. We get 135 miles times 1 hour is equal to, and then on the other side, we get 3 hours times x, so 3 hours times x. Okay, we got to get x by itself. That's what we're trying to solve for. So we are going to divide that 3 hours out on the other side. Anything we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. Those cancel out. We get a 1. Okay, we got the x to carry down. The 3 and the 3 have canceled out. And let's look at what happens on our left-hand side. We have hours in the denominator, hours in the numerator. Those are going to cancel. And we get 135 miles times 1. So 135 miles divided by 3, because remember the hours is canceled out. And when we do that, we get 135 divided by 3. We get 45 miles is equal to x. Remember the unit that x was measuring was how many miles, miles was in that first row. So x was in miles, miles. Right? So x is equal to 45 miles. So in 1 hour, Alex is driving 45 miles. So let's go ahead and try. I'm going to erase this equations part. If you still need it, pause the video, but I'm going to erase it so we can do our graphing. Okay, so I'm going to erase this. If you need it, just feel free to go back anytime you need it. All right, we're going to do our x and our y. So we've always got our x-axis here. Here's our y-axis, and we're going to figure out what those are. So one of them's got to be hours. One of them's got to be miles. So let's do hours down here. So how many hours has he driven? This will be 0 hours at the origin. We'll work our way out from there. And up here, we're going to go miles traveled. How far has he traveled? Miles traveled. And remember, he's traveling at 45 miles per hour. So let's go, here's after 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. Okay, and then let's look at what's happening, how many miles he's traveling. I'm going to go by 20s. So that'll be 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, 200. Okay, and we will keep going from there. 240, 280, 320, 360. Awesome. Okay. So from there, I'm going to think, okay, after 1 hour, how far did he travel? Well, after 1 hour, he traveled 45 miles because he was going 45 miles per hour. Okay, so let's think about after 1 mile, 45 miles. So after 2 miles, if he's already traveled 45, he's going to travel another 45. This should be 45 plus 45, or 45 times 2, which is just 90. So he traveled 90 miles after 2. So 90 miles is about right there. Okay, after 3, we could do 45 times 3, or we could just look up there and see how far he traveled in 3 miles and go 135. So after 3, he's at 135. All right, then let's go to 4. We'll go all the way to 5. It should be 45 miles every single hour, times 4 hours each. And we will get 180. Okay, and then 4 and 180. Awesome. All right, and then our last one, 5. We can do 45 times 5, which is going to get us 225. So in 5, we're going to graph up at the 225 mark. Awesome. And we are just going to look at whether or not this is continuous or discrete. So he starts traveling here. He doesn't stop traveling until 1 hour, right? He's traveling the whole time. So his speed is there the whole time. His speed is constant that whole time. So we do continue, we do connect it with a line. Awesome. Okay, so the very last thing that you guys are doing for this video is you are completing number 11 on the left-hand side of your notebook. So it's the very last thing, and then after that, we are done with the lesson. So you are completing number 11 on the left-hand side. Awesome. See you guys for 1 point. Actually, no. See you for 2.1. Okay, bye-bye.